These are the practice problems for Lesson 1, Number Puzzles. And in this first problem, you are given the different fractions of a book that Tyler read during the week and asked to figure out how many pages are in that book. And so on Monday, Tyler read 2/15 of the book. On Tuesday, he read 1/3 of the book. On Wednesday, he read 2/9 of the book. And then on Thursday, he read 3/4 of the remainder of the book. And then he still had 14 more pages to read on Friday. So you're supposed to figure out how many total pages are in the book. And so what you have to realize is that 3/4 of the remainder, if you can figure out how many pages that is, then that's a fraction of the whole book. That 3/4 plus the 1/4 plus these 14 pages is a fraction of the whole book. And once you know what fraction that is of the whole book, you can figure out how many pages there are in that book. So to solve this problem, I know that I'm going to have to figure out what fraction of the book he read on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday combined. So I'm going to have to add 2/15 and 1/3 and 2/9. I'm going to have to add all those parts together, and then that will tell me what fraction of the book remains. So I'm going to have to figure out some factors of 15. So 3/4, let's just go back for a minute. So 3/4 of the remainder of the book he read on Thursday. So remember that those 14 pages that he has to read on Friday is 1/4 of the remainder of the book that he had to read on Thursday. So that's the key. So once we know, actually we can tell what that remainder is right now because it's just 4 times 14. This 14 pages is 1/4 of the remainder. So that remainder is 56 pages, 4 times 14. But the issue is that 56 pages is what fraction of the whole book. So I'm jumping ahead just a tiny bit. So I need to figure out how to add 2/15 plus 1/3 plus 2/9 together. That means I have to think about factors of 15, 3, and 9. I don't know if I need the 4th or not. And I need to think about common multiples so I can figure out what a common denominator is. Well, the factors of 15 are 3 and 5. And the factors of 3, of course, are 3. So 15 is both a multiple of 15 and a multiple of 3. So now what about the 9? Well, I need to include another factor of 3 in here to get to the 9. So 3 times 3 times 5. So this is 3 times 15. And then also 5 times 9. And we also have the factor of 3 in here. This is using prime factorization to figure out the common multiple or the common denominator. They don't teach that anymore, but this is what we used to teach in 6th grade a lot. So anyway, the common denominator or common multiple of 15, 3, and 9 turns out to be 45. So 3 times 15 is 45, and 5 times 9 is 45, and 15 times 3 is 45. All right, so now this drawing in the beginning is not to scale. These parts are not the proper relative sizes. It's just, I'm just making sections so I can put some numbers in there to move towards the answer. And I said a moment ago that we know that this 1/4 of the remainder is 14 pages. That means that that 3/4, or I'm sorry, the entire remainder is 56 pages because it's 3/4 of the remainder are 42 pages. 3 times 14 is 42, and so you combine these two together and you get a total of 56 pages. Another way to think about it is just 4 times 14 pages. So we know that this is 56 pages. So what fraction of the entire book are those 56 pages? Well, this piece right here is 2/15 of the book. This piece right here is 1/3 of the book, 2/9 of the book, and this is going to be the remaining fraction. After I figure out what fraction all of these pieces are, this is going to be the remaining part. So 2/15 plus 1/3 plus 2/9. I have to add all of those together. So 2/15 is the same as 3 times 15 is 45. 3 times 2 is 6. So 6/45. 1/3 is 15 45ths. So 15 times 1 and 3 times 15. And 9 times 5 is 45. And 2 times 5 is 10. So it's 6 45ths, 15 45ths, plus 10 45ths equals a total of 31 45ths. So that makes this part of the book right here 31 45ths of the whole book. That means that this piece right here is the remaining fraction. It is 14 45ths. So this remaining part is 14 45ths of the book, and that equals 56 pages. All right, so how do I use that to figure out what the total number of pages of the book are? Well, if I can figure out what 1/45 is, then I just multiply that number by 45. And so 1/45 is going to be these 56 pages divided by 14. This is 14 45ths. I want to know what 1/45 is. So the 56 pages divided by 14. So now what I'm doing is multiplying by the multiplicative inverse of 14 45ths, which is 45 14ths. So I'm going to divide by that 14. That's going to tell me one of these parts is equal to how many pages, and it turns out that it is equal to 4 pages. And so now I just multiply 45 times 4 pages. 1/45 of the book is 4 pages long. I'm going to go over this again in another way in just a moment, so just hang in there. 4 pages of the book is equal to 1/45. That means the whole book is 45 of those 4-page parts. 45 times 4 is equal to 180 pages. So the book is 180 pages in length. So let's go over this again. So 14 45ths of the book is equal to 56 pages. So this section right here is 14 45ths of the book. That is equal to 56 pages. Then 1/45, one of these pieces, is equal to 56 divided by that 14. That's going to give you what one of those parts is. So we have 14 parts right here, equal 56 pages. What does one part equal? Well, one part equals 56 divided by 14, which equals 4 pages. So 1/45 of the book is equal to 4 pages in length. And then you multiply by 45 to get the entire length, the entire number of pages of the book. So 1/45 of the book is equal to 4 pages. So that means that the book is equal to 45 times that 4 pages. So that's multiplying by the multiplicative inverse of 1/45 is 45. So 45 times 1/45 is equal to the whole book, 45 45ths. So then you have to multiply the 4 pages by that 45 to tell you how many pages are in the book. And this is a little bit tough, but the drawing is helpful in sorting out how I'm trying to explain this. The key for you guys to learn this is to try to explain it to yourself, try several different ways, and work through it. Now, I want to review just for a moment how you learned division in very early grades, probably 3rd grade. And you learned fact families. So let's look at the column on the right just for a moment. So you learned that if you had a number that was the product of 2 factors, so 2 times some number equals 6. So you learned that fact family. 2 times 3 equals 6, 3 times 2 equals 6, 6 divided by 2 equals 3, 6 divided by 3 equals 2. So you learn that fact family. So then if you're given 2 times some number equals 6, what is that number? And so then you just visually figured out and you learned and understood that, well, 6 divided by 2 then is equal to 3. And that's the same as multiplying 6 by the multiplicative inverse of 2. So 6 times 1/2 is the same as 6 divided by 2. So here's the 6 divided by 2. That's the same as 6 times 1/2. So 1/2 of 6, you all know, is 3. So x is equal to 3. 3 times 1 is equal to 3. So you take that same idea to this part on the left here. I just want to go over why you multiply 14 45ths of the book by 45 14ths, which is the multiplicative inverse. So I did go back to the equation for proportional relationship. Don't really need that, but it just shows you that everything that we're doing can go way back into your early elementary school understanding of math. So I have 56 equals two factors. One factor is 14/45. The other factor is b, the size of the book, the length of the book. So how do I figure out what the length of the book is? I divide, or I multiply by the multiplicative inverse. I divide by 14/45, which is the same as multiplying by the multiplicative inverse of 14/45, which is 45/14. So now look what you're doing. So this is the same as over here. How do I figure out what x is? I'm going to multiply by the multiplicative inverse of 2. How do I figure out what b is? I'm going to multiply by the multiplicative inverse of 14/45. So now look what you're doing. You're taking those 14 parts, dividing by 56 by those 14 parts. That's going to tell you how much is in 1/45. That's what we did on in the last slide. We took the 56 pages, divided it by the 14 parts. That tells you how many pages are in one of those 14 parts. That's 1/45. Then multiply that by the 45 to give you the total number of pages. So the number of pages in the book B is equal to 180 pages. This takes time, it takes practice, it takes effort to continue to go through this, try different examples, and go through this kind of thinking. And we're certainly going to continue to go through this during the course. All right, so now I'm going to redraw the beginning drawing, but I'm going to make it more to scale. So these sizes are more appropriate as far as their relationship to the other pieces. So we have 4 parts. One part is 6/45, so this is 6 units. Another part is 15/45, so this is 15 units. Another part is 10/45, so this is 10 units. And the last part is 14/45, so this is 14 units. Now it gets a little bit confusing. I probably would have chosen different numbers if I rewrote this problem. This is 14 parts, or 14/45. That is unrelated to these 14 pages. And it probably is related in some way, but this 14 pages, that 14 is a different 14 than this 14/45. We really don't need the 14 pages anymore because we know that these 14 parts are equal to a total of 56 pages. So now once we've used the 14 pages to figure this out, we can ignore that. We don't need that anymore. So now we know that 14/45 is equal to 56 pages. So this piece right here is 56 pages in length. So I want to know what 1/14 of that is. What is one of these parts, which is 1/45? I divide the 56 by 14, and that tells me that 1/45 is equal to 4 pages. So 1/45 of the length of the book equals these 4 pages right here. So once I know that, so 10 parts, each of the parts are equal to 4 pages. So 10/45, let's go back for a second. Remember, this is 3/4 of the remainder of the book right here, and this was 1/4 of the remainder. And that was the key. This 1/4 of the remainder equal to 14 pages enabled us to figure out what this whole piece was right here, which is equal to 56 pages. All right, so 10/45 are going to be equal to 10 times 4 pages for each of those parts. You have 10 of the parts, so it's equal to 40 pages. 15 parts is 4 pages for each part. 4 times 15 is equal to 60 pages. And we have 6 parts, 4 pages for each of those parts. So 4 times 6 is equal to 24 pages. So here are the different number of pages that Tyler read on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. On Thursday, he read 42 pages. On Friday, he had 14 pages left to read.